Hi there, I'm B. I'm a writer and a dreamer. I have fun making these videos, and it would be great if you can show your support by liking our videos, commenting, and subscribing to our channel. Thank you.
The 487th Galactic Biocompliance Symposium was proceeding exactly as planned, which is to say, no one was awake. Somewhere between the Andraxian moss, mating diagrams, and a thrilling 20-slide series on fungal jurisprudence in low-gravity environments, 300 species had entered what the humans would call advanced power-saving mode. Ambassador Throbnell of the gelatinous continuum was mid-monologue on bioethical oozing, and half the chamber was wondering if spontaneous combustion might be a preferable alternative to another hour of slide transitions. That happened. The terminal at the center of the council dais sparked violently, with the kind of dramatic flair usually reserved for sci-fi cliffhangers and failed toasters. A puff of smoke wafted into the air. Holographic moss specimens froze mid-spore. Every head, eye stalk, drone sensor, and psychic antenna turned toward the malfunctioning console. Technical difficulties, announced Chair Jel Roth, the Corvax moderator and six-eyed bureaucrat whose species had once lost a war to paperwork. Her tone suggested she'd rather be trapped in a gravity well than here. We will proceed to the next agenda item while maintenance. Actually, said a voice, casual as a cat in the sun. I can fix that. The room paused. Not quiet. Paused, like a cosmic finger pressed freeze frame on everyone's disbelief. A human had spoken. A lone figure in the back row, practically hidden behind the Flarnix delegation and their 11-meter neck plumage, was now standing. Dr. Elara Myles, Earth's first and only representative at the Galactic Assembly, wearing a battered gray jumpsuit that looked one bad coffee spill away from retirement. She walked forward, calmly. No ceremony. No request for permission. Just walking. Like this was her house, and the universe had left the oven on. I just need a sec, she said, crouching beside the smoking console. What is she doing? His someone from the Ichtharn group, whose species expressed confusion by inflating their tails. 6 tails inflated simultaneously. She is not certified for, Chair Jel began, but trailed off as Elara pulled out a tool. It was small, worn, and human. A multi-tool, they called it. Something between a screwdriver, a can opener, and an existential threat, depending on the context. Click. Whir. Snap. 3 seconds later, the spark stopped. The hologram rebooted. The console purred like a contented cat with anger issues. There. Good as new, Elara said, standing and brushing imaginary dust from her knees. Was just a cracked flux seal. This happens all the time on asteroid rigs. The room stared. The kind of stare you get when you see someone wrestle a velociraptor into a tuxedo and then say, it was hungry. Thank you, Chair Jel managed, blinking her 6 eyes asynchronously. But maintenance protocols require. It's fine, Elara smiled. I used to repair mining equipment on Pluto. This is basically the same thing, just shinier. Then, like it was nothing, she sat back down. No dramatic pose. No triumphant music. Just cross-legged in her chair, like someone who had merely swatted a fly, not paralyzed 12 centuries of interstellar protocol with a wrench. The silence thickened. Not the respectful kind. The oh no she's got thumbs in confidence kind. Ambassador Spivak Zreth of the Varn Dominion coughed, tentacles visibly trembling. Shall we proceed? Please do, said Elara, folding her hands politely. And so Zreth resumed his presentation. 17 minutes later, he hit what would become the galaxy's second major existential crisis of the day. Earth's biosphere. As we can see from the data, Zreth began, a little too loudly, most civilized worlds maintain a clear ecological hierarchy. Apex predators remain in designated zones. Prey species adapt accordingly. Balance is preserved through selection pressure and environmental regulation. A tentacle wave from the vegan collective, a gelatinous cloud of socially anxious light particles with a PhD in ethical farming. What about planets with multiple apex predators? They asked. How is conflict avoided? Territorial division, Zreth answered too confidently. Typically, each predator species occupies a specific region or biome. Overlap is minimal. He clicked to the next slide. This brings us to the anomaly, Earth. The slide showed a slowly rotating blue-green planet. Innocent, peaceful, absolutely teeming with evolutionary spite. Earth hosts an unusually high number of apex species, Zreth said, clearly sweating despite having no glands. 17. Verified. A hush fell. Most planets had one. 2 if you were unlucky. 3 meant you were issuing planetary evacuations and filling out lawsuits in advance. 17. Someone echoed. On the same landmasses? Yes. And they coexist? Technically. The vegan collective blinked nervously. That's not biologically sustainable. Unless, rumbled Admiral Grath, a Krillian war veteran with combat implants glowing like a Christmas tree in a reactor core. They're not apex predators. The room froze. His claws tapped on the table. If 17 species coexist peacefully, they must all be prey. All eyes turned, slowly, to the human. Elara sipped from her water bottle. Her eyes twinkled. That's adorable, she said. Chairgel spoke cautiously. Dr. Myles, if that is incorrect, would you please clarify? Oh, sure. Elara leaned forward slightly. They coexist because we let them. You're looking at Earth's apex predator. The translator systems glitched. Literally glitched. 60 languages try to process the phrase at once. Half crashed. A third threw errors. One tried to sue for slander. You? Someone gasped. But you don't have claws. You're squishy. You're smiling. Exactly, said Elara. We don't need claws. We make better ones. We don't need armor. We build exosuits. We don't need to run faster than our prey. We just need to run longer. We call it endurance hunting. It's like playing tag, but the loser dies tired. Someone screamed, possibly out of admiration. So, Gracht said slowly, you're telling us all 7 billion of you are apex predators? Technically, Elara replied, we're omnivorous, tool-making, cooperative persistence predators with pattern recognition, orbital capabilities, and a thing called caffeine. The Krillians activated their panic lights. The council chamber hit silence again. The dangerous kind. Is it too late to evacuate this planet? Kind. Then, as if to add insult to existential injury, Elara smiled. I mean, we're really quite friendly. Until we're not. The fire alarms have been screaming for 13 consecutive minutes. No fire. Just data. And it was burning through the Galactic Council's nerves like plasma acid through wet cardboard. The cause? Not an invasion, not a spatial anomaly, not even a mildly rude Zorthian poem. No, it was a human. One. Singular. Possibly armed with nothing but a multi-tool and her frightening ability to remain calm under interstellar scrutiny. Her name? Dr. Elara Myles. Her crime? Telling the truth. The quarantine session convened in Containment Hall Theta 7, a room traditionally reserved for emergencies like temporal loops, sentient viruses, or tax audits. It had not been used in over 700 years. Last time was when a diplomat declared war on himself by mispronouncing his species' name in public. Now, 300 delegates sat in tightly packed formation, whispering in 60 different tongues and 17 emergency dialects. Elara Myles was not invited. She sat cross-legged in the outer corridor, back against the wall, reading from a slim, glowing slab of glass. Occasionally, she did light stretches. Once, she stood on one hand for reasons no one could explain. Once, she tasted the air and said, low-grade ozone leak. Hope someone looks into that. They did. She was right. Again. Why she's so calm? Muttered General Crom, a quadruple-mandibled tactician from the SAR Collective. His kind had once eaten an entire moon as a threat display. She's human, sighed Chairgel Roth, the overworked moderator. Apparently, this is normal. Normal? This was intergalactic unflappability at its final evolution stage. It wasn't confidence, it was human, and that terrified them. Chairgel's voice quivered as she tapped her notes. Let's review the facts. Earth hosts 7 billion tool-using apex predators, with no unified government and a long history of turning extinction into a leisure activity. Addendum, said the Andromedan delegate, their voice like boiling helium. They've coexisted with 17 other apex species. Correction, Piped in the vegan collective's cloud-like representative, sympathetic flavor, they coexisted. Past tense. Chair Gel blinked. What do you mean? The cloud hovered uncertainly. We checked Earth's current biodiversity indexes. Most of the other apex predators are gone. Gone where? Asked someone hopefully. Emigrated? No. Eaten. Displaced. Obliterated. One got turned into a coat. Murmurs rippled. Side effect, a voice called. It was Ambassador Splarn, a diplomatically inclined biped with chronic optimism. They said extinction was a side effect of expansion. A side effect? Shrieked the Krillian representative. That's like saying fire is a side effect of napalm. Actually, said a dry voice, it usually is. Heads turned. Elara was in the room. How'd you get in here? Chair Gel sputtered. I walked, Elara shrugged. You didn't seal the door. Also, your facial recognition software was set to ignore small mammals. Bit rude. We'd like to ask you some questions, said Chair Gel stiffly. Go for it, Elara grinned. I'll even try not to fix anything mid-meeting. The vegan collective twitched nervously. Is it true you wiped out 17 apex species? Well, we didn't plan to. We just sort of expanded. You displaced them? We built suburbs. You outcompete them? Efficiently. You. Okay, Elara interrupted. Look, I get it. It sounds monstrous. But it's not just hunting and killing. We didn't eliminate them for fun. Mostly. We needed food, land, and IKEA. What is IKEA? Is someone. A terrifying puzzle box, Elara said. But that's not important right now. The Krillian tapped at his interface. You're claiming that every human is a generalist predator with cognitive flexibility, tool access, and cooperative hunting instincts? Yep, but there are 7 billion of you, getting close to 8. Chair Gel was sweating through her carapace. How do you manage resource competition? Without global war? Oh, we have those too, Elara said cheerfully. But mostly we invent new stuff. Hydroponics, vertical farms, synthetic meat, orbital logistics, whatever lets us keep growing without running out. And when you do run out, we make more. And when you can't, we fight. The room collectively try not to faint. But we're usually too busy inventing the next thing to waste time fighting, she added. Fighting's inefficient. You don't learn anything new when you're dead. Elara leaned back and began ticking off her fingers. We make tools for hunting, farming. We make tools that build tools. And that think. We make tools that can diagnose cancer and order pizza at the same time. The Andromedan delegate made a sound like a balloon deflating into an existential vacuum. Please stop, Chair Gel said. I'm activating emergency protocol review. Oh, which one? Elara asked helpfully. 7? 8? The oops we made contact with something smarter than us one? The silence that followed was not an answer. Which meant it was. Meanwhile, in the corridor, the security team had not moved. Their orders were simple. Observe the human. What they hadn't expected was to be the ones being observed. Her ears twitched, said Commander Kryal, an armored insectoid with claws sharp enough to split atoms. She's mapping us, muttered his second-in-command. Harmonic convergence, a sentient sound wave who moonlighted as a folk singer. Mapping? Acoustic triangulation. Auditory depth sensing. She knows where we are. Kryal narrowed his compound eyes. She can't see through walls. She doesn't have to. She can hear the difference in air pressure, magnetic distortion, stress responses. She's reading the vibrations in the walls. She can hear stress. She can smell fear. They both looked at Elara. She waved again. They flinched again. Chair Gel stood, barely maintaining composure. Dr. Myles, are you suggesting humanity poses a threat to galactic order? I'm suggesting, Elara said calmly, that maybe galactic order should reconsider what it's afraid of. Then what are you? We're not conquerors. We're not monsters. We're not warriors. She smiled. We're problem solvers. And you, my friends, have a very big problem. If silence had weight, the Galactic Council chamber would have collapsed into a singularity. Dr. Elara Myles stood in the center, hands clasped casually behind her back, like she just finished explaining the weather forecast rather than dropping a bombshell about Earth casually outcompeting nature itself. Delegates stared, motionless, trying not to breathe too loudly in case the apex omnivore got twitchy. Outside the chamber, chaos brewed. Emergency beacons flashed. Drones flew into restricted airspace. Psychics tried, and failed, to read Elara's mind, reporting only laughter and the sound of whales harmonizing with engine turbines. The universe, once so ordered and hierarchical, had just been told by a ponytailed woman with calloused hands that everything they believed was quaintly obsolete. But the real panic started in the archives. 3 levels below the main council dome, past a biometric corridor guarded by nightmares and accountants, the strategic archive chamber hummed ominously. Commander Vexthal, head of the Kornax Imperial Guard, stood frozen as Archivist Mothdow, a 6-armed crustacean with anxiety and clearance level Omega Plus, frantically pulled up restricted files. "You're sure this is it?" Vexthal growled. "I decrypted the quarantine file," Mothdow whispered. "The original one. The one written before the Council buried it under 8 layers of diplomatic nonsense." On the display, a red system blinked. "Sol. 3rd planet. Earth. Labeled Dead Zone." "Wait," Vexthal muttered. "Earth wasn't quarantined because of threat?" Mothdow shook his top left claw. "No, it was quarantined because the humans didn't fit." "Didn't fit what?" "Our model of civilization." The hologram shifted. It showed an old survey log. Earth, 847 galactic standard years ago. Classification, pre-industrial. Tools, stone. Threat level, 0. Threatening weapons, pointy things. And yet, Mothdow continued, the survey team never returned. Destroyed? No, they stayed. Integrated. Voluntarily. Vexthal's implants pulse crimson. That's impossible. Cultural contamination protocols. Didn't work. The humans talked to them. Showed them cooperation, creativity, empathy. Within 3 months, the survey team was farming potatoes and co-parenting with a Neolithic tribe. Vexthal blinked. So we sent backup. 14 times, Mothdow said, voice cracking. Full squads. Culture experts. Combat psychs. Neural shields. They all stayed. Stayed where? Earth. By choice. And when asked why, they said something terrifying. What? They said the humans weren't dangerous because they were predators. They were dangerous because they were gardeners. Vexthal actually took a step back. Meanwhile, in the chamber, Chairgel Roth's voice wavered like an old song on a broken speaker. So you're telling us, Dr. Myles, that Earth didn't evolve to conquer, but to cultivate? Exactly, Elara said, now sitting casually on the floor like she owned the room. We take broken things and fix them. Sometimes it's tech. Sometimes it's ecosystems. Sometimes it's entire civilizations. Sounds invasive, muttered the Krillian delegate. Only if you're afraid of composting your own ego, Elara replied sweetly. A few delegates took notes. But your weapons, said the Andromedan. Your wars. Your history of conquest. All true, Elara said. We've been brutal. We've made mistakes. Big ones. But unlike most empires in this room, we remember them. We study them. We teach them to our children with cartoons and badly written history books. You made cartoons about genocide? And video games. It's called processing trauma. Just then, the chamber's walls shimmered with an incoming emergency hologram. Archivist Mothdow appeared in the center, panting. I've reviewed the suppressed files, he said, scanning the chamber. I know why Earth was quarantined. Chairgel straightened. To protect the galaxy. No, Mothdow said, to protect the humans from the galaxy. The chamber reacted like he'd just declared war on gravity. The original survey teams reported that humans had developed cooperation, creativity, and emotional resilience without large-scale oppression or industrial cruelty. The Council feared they'd be corrupted by our system. A long, sticky silence followed. You mean we're the bad influence? Asked sympathetic flavor of the vegan collective. Galactic civilization, Mothdow said solemnly, is built on a cycle of hierarchy, fear, and resource hoarding. Humanity bypassed all that. They made societies without domination, progress without conquest. And the teams we sent stayed because Earth felt better. They asked to remain as observers. And the Council lied. To everyone. All heads turned to Elara. She smiled. We've known. Since the moment I got here. How? Someone demanded. Elara tapped her translation device. You gave me access to your public network. It was like watching a toddler hide cookies behind a window. Chair Gel groaned into her hands. Were you? Vextel asked over comms, broadcasting from the archive chamber. Elara looked at the display. We're not what you expected. That's the point. You've built weapons, ships, artificial minds. You could have erased us. We could have, Elara agreed. But that's not what gardeners do. We don't burn fields. We plant them. And if we refuse to change, then we'll outlast you, outgrow you, outthink you. And when your empire crumbles under the weight of its own arrogance, we'll show up with seeds and spades and start rebuilding. Security Commander Kryal stared at Elara through the hidden observation pane. She hadn't moved in 10 minutes, except to correct a vibration in the floor with her heel. She knows everything we're saying, he whispered. She knows everything we're thinking, harmonic convergence corrected. Her species evolved to listen, to adapt, to empathize. She's not watching us to destroy us. She's watching to figure out what we need help with. She can't be that kind. She is, and that's what scares me. Back in the chamber, Chair Gel tried one last push. What do you want from us? Elara stood up. Nothing. We're not here to take. We're here to give. A better way. A better story. She paced slowly, deliberately. You've built an empire on fear. We built one on stories. On sharing. On building together. That's what scares you. Not that we'll fight you, but that will make you obsolete. Her voice softened. We've learned how to hunt, sure, but we'd rather grow. That's what gardeners do. We make beauty from dirt. The fire alarms had stopped. Not because the danger was over, but because the Galactic Council's emergency alert systems simply gave up. You can only scream code red so many times before the building develops self-awareness and decides to let fate take over. And now, in the main assembly hall, beneath its glorious 1,000-meter domed ceiling, where peace treaties have been signed, planetary annexations brokered, and one unfortunate interpretive dance truce attempted, stood a single human. Dr. Elara Myles, still in her gray, coffee-stained jumpsuit, still smiling like someone who had just casually explained entropy to a kindergartner. She was alone. No guards, no cuffs, no weapons, surrounded by 300 of the most powerful leaders in the galaxy. And they were terrified. You're not Earth's ambassador, rasped Chair Gel Roth, her voice cracking like ice under pressure. Nope, Elara replied, hands in pockets. You're not even a diplomat? Not particularly. You forged credentials. Snuck in. Lied to the council. Actually, Elara said, tilting her head, I just asked for access politely and waited for the bureaucracy to grant it. Several delegates fainted. Chair Gel's eyes bulged. So, who do you represent? Myself, Elara said. And the idea that maybe someone should have checked on you guys after 800 years of silence. The room exploded. Every tentacle, limb, mandible, and pseudopod rose in outrage. Alarms started again. Emergency exit lights flickered. One delegate launched a pheromone cloud that spelled what the actual in 14 languages. Elara waited, arms crossed, whistling the intro to Beethoven's Fifth. They settled after 7 minutes and 2 medical interventions. Chair Gel, pale and shaking, leaned forward. You came here alone. I came here hopeful. And the credentials? I borrowed your language syntax, mixed in a few polite phrases, and let your systems do the rest. You really should patch that vulnerability. Do you understand what this means? Shouted the Krillian war tactician. Yes. You've been negotiating for days with a single curious earthling in her favorite boots. Another silence. This one, heavy, like a galaxy, just realized it had been outmaneuvered by someone who once fixed mining lasers on weekends. Then came a new alarm. The council's main screen flickered to life. 17 sleek, obsidian-black ships had just appeared around the station. No approach vector, no warp signature, no warning. They were just there, glowing softly, curving light itself around their hulls like origami. They're not in our database, barked the Andromedan. No known design profile. Energy readings, impossible. Chair Gel stared at Elara. Were those? Our carpool. She checked her wrist device. They're right on time. Warships? Not exactly. The ships began to sing. It started soft. Harmonics that tickled the bones, vibrated the air, made the colors on the wall lean a little brighter. Equations began appearing midair, self-solving like dancing fireflies. Delegates wept openly. Others fell into stunned meditation. The ships weren't broadcasting threats. They were broadcasting beauty. A harmony of mathematical precision, quantum engineering, and something deeper, intention. What is that? Whispered sympathetic flavor of the vegan collective. It's music, Elara said, and math, and hope, wrapped into resonance. You're weaponizing emotion, the Krillian snapped. No, Elara said softly. We're resonating with it. You still don't get it, do you? She said, pacing the floor with the calm menace of a teacher, holding back a quiz. You think we're dangerous because we fight. But that's not why we're apex predators. Then why? Asked Chair Gel, barely above a whisper. Elara pointed at the display of the ships outside, each glowing with an impossible blend of frequencies. Because we're good at everything. We build. We analyze. We repair. We collaborate. We reimagine entire realities with duct tape and unreasonable optimism. And when something tells us, you can't, she smiled, we hunt it down and ask why not. You can't stop us, she said without malice. You're trying to fight a species that turned a survival instinct into an art form. What do you want? Asked the Andromedan. Elara turned slowly, eyes warm, voice calm. We want to give you something. What? A second chance. The chamber lights flickered again. Archivist Mothdow reappeared as a frantic hologram. I found it. He screamed, arms waving. The original quarantine memo. Earth wasn't shut off because they were dangerous. It was because what? Demanded Chair Gel. Because they were innocent. The word hit the chamber like a bomb made of silence. Innocent of galactic cruelty. Of empire. Of indoctrinated dominance. The report recommended isolation until either we evolved past conquest or they learned how to do it. They never did, Mothdow whispered. And they still got here. With empathy, math, and craftsmanship. Elara looked around the hall. I have a proposal. Chair Gel narrowed her eyes. A proposal? Earth joins the galactic community. Full member status. In exchange, we offer technology, social frameworks, and alternatives to the madness you call governance. And if we refuse, then we'll still offer it. We'll build worlds anyway. We'll open doors. You can stay out of them if you like. And the ships? Colony vessels, Elara said. Not weapons. World builders. How many? As many as it takes. I'm not a threat, Elara said gently. I'm a gardener. In a galaxy? Asked the Krillian. A field, she said. Full of weeds, sure. But also possibilities. All in favor? Chair Gel asked. One by one, claws, tendrils, appendages, gravity signatures rose into the air. Unanimous. Elara bowed. Thank you. Chair Gel straightened. We welcome Earth. Now, if you'll serve as... I resign, Elara said brightly. You what? I was never qualified anyway. Earth will send someone official soon. Then why did you come? To plant a seed. To see if the soil was still fertile. She paused at the doorway. Oh, and one more thing. She gestured to the display. Those ships? They're just the start. We're building new worlds. Anyone's welcome. No empires. Just ecosystems. She smiled. The universe is big enough for everyone. And then she left. Outside, the ships sang louder. Their music folded space like a lullaby made of stardust and blueprints. They weren't destroying anything. They were making room. The end of the empire. The beginning of growth. Humanity didn't bring war. They brought choices. And no one was ready for that.